All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Mindfulness with Christ. And today's episode is titled College Fear and Mental Health Routines. Oh my. I had a had a bit of a tough time figuring out what to name this one because we kind of bounced around a bit. But basically, in this episode, I have on the awesome David Stewart. He is the founder of AGEIST, which is a really cool agency that sheds light on age discrimination and the fact that, you know what, you can do whatever the heck you want to do at any age. Mr. Stewart has spoken at many conferences, including TED Talk and a global wellness summit in Singapore. Basically, in this episode, we're going to kind of talk about college, and is college the only path that there is to take in life, or are there other ways to go about that? We're also going to discuss his fear of public speaking and how he went from not wanting to talk in front of anybody to a TED Talk with over 4,000 people in attendance. And then, of course, we're also going to get a little bit into just some good daily mental health practices. So let's jump in. And we're recording. So first of all, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to me. I'm pretty honored.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Have you been working from home or in the office or?
There are no offices.
Oh, that's so
COVID,
crazy.
right? Who goes
Yeah.
to an office? Yeah.
This is my office as well.
Right. Yeah.
I feel fortunate that I at least have a desk. I'm in a really tiny 1-bedroom apartment, but I managed to kind of slip a desk into my living room to make it a multifunctional space.
Yeah, there you go. Good solution.
So for people who are listening, first of all, I would kind of like you to give a bit of background on AGEIST and what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're an online publication and a community that was designed to show people that are over 50 living in this vital, vivid, forward-looking way. But we sort of failed at that because about half of our audience is under 50 and like a quarter of them are under 30. Because they look at us as being aspirational, as the people that they want to be, and they want to learn how to do that.
Right. No, I think that's a really good point. I always look at certain people who are older, and I see every so often there's someone who's traveling, or they're pursuing goals, or they're going back to school or getting their master's. And I'm like, man, that's where I want to be when I'm at that age. I don't want to have an age where I'm like, all right, this is where I draw the line and everything has to be, a certain way. And I have to fall into place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's not true.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I don't think that's the case anymore. I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing because more people are able to see, oh, like I can carve out my own path. I don't have to just accept things the way that they are. It's not too late for me to kind of look back at some of my previous aspirations and pick up painting again or pick up drawing or like you do, photography,
Well, I think that the thing that people get confused about, and they it's not just people at a young age, but sort of at any age, they think that whatever they're doing, whatever choice, whatever life decision they're making is going to determine this sort of straight railroad track down whatever they're going to go. And that's not true. So, there'll be a number of changes and pivots and parallel careers and parallel endeavors throughout your life. So that sort of old thing about like, well, like they ask people in high school, like, what do you want to be? And it's just like the dumbest question ever.
Right.
It's like, I want to be an astronaut or whatever. So, it's like you learn, the more you learn about yourself and how that you feel about the things you're doing in the world and how the world relates to you, you get more information, and it's a dynamic situation because you change, the world changes. And so there's adaptations that happen along the way.
Yeah, I think that can definitely add a lot of pressure to people who are younger and in high school. Like, oh my gosh, I have to know. And looking back, like you said, it's almost ridiculous. Like the things I thought I wanted to do or be with my life at that age, it's like, how are you supposed to know? You don't even know the first thing about yourself, let alone your path. And then like you said as well, there's sometimes this mentality, and I think it's decreasing as time goes on. But there's this mentality of, I choose this and this is it. And that just compounds the pressure of, oh crap, this better be a good choice, Yeah,
it's there are the rare, really gifted individuals and they are very, very rare. You get your Mozarts that, at age 5, they know exactly what they're going to do. They exist, but they're outliers. I also think it's there's nothing wrong with being younger and having an aspiration to do something, to have some kind of guiding principle. That's great. Nothing wrong with that. You may change that. You might not. It's good to have it. But it's also fine to say, I'm not quite sure. I think I just want to learn about a lot of different stuff now and see where that goes.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I wish we had the practice that they do more in Europe, where they have a legit gap year, and maybe they do that before college, or maybe it's after college, but they just take a year off. And here it's almost sometimes kind of seen as taboo, or, I know my parents are awesome, but I remember my mom was worried that, oh, sometimes people, they take a year off and they never go back, and there's that fear of,
maybe they shouldn't go back.
Right.
Maybe they shouldn't have started in the first place.
Right. And maybe there's people who could have realized that and saved themselves a lot of time and money, realizing that that's not for them,
Yeah, I mean, I'm unusual in that, I have a degree in mechanical engineering, but I'm opposed to STEM education. I don't think it's a good idea. I'm much more in favor of a broad liberal arts education that teaches you critical thinking, because I think increasingly technical skills, whatever they are, I mean, engineering, accounting, all this sort of stuff that was sort of guaranteed, that's just going to be gone. It's already vaporizing
by AI and stuff.
Yeah,
and
AI and all that. But the things that computers can't do is critical thinking, morality, that sort of stuff. They're really bad at that. So
go figure.
I think you either go on the far end of this, you either go for that, or you look at something. If that's not your jam, if I had somebody and they were not quite sure what to do, I'd say become a plumber, man. Mm-hmm. You will always have an awesome income.
Right?
You will never be replaced. People will always love you for coming to their house to fix whatever the problem is.
Yeah.
And you make a really good income. So,
and you have free rights to let the butt crack hang out. You know what I mean? Get a nice breeze.
Yeah, well, you got to be careful of that. You want to be a styling plumber.
You don't want to scare anybody away.
No. I don't do the butt cracking. That's bad.
Yeah, my dad actually, he's been an iron worker my whole life growing up, and then he moved into and he's very big on trades, and you don't have to go to college.
Absolutely.
And he's instilled that in me. I have a degree from the University of Florida, but I thought about being an iron worker. I really did. I still think about just being a welder sometimes. But so he moved from ironworking to teaching, and from teaching to coordinating, and and so he gives presentations sometimes to people talking about ironworking and the benefits and this and that. Right. Yeah. And he has an example in one of his presentations. I still remember, the details are a little foggy, but basically he lays out someone going to school to be a doctor and someone going to be a plumber. And then he shows the timeline. And eventually, in a sense, some plumbers end up making more than doctors because they're not paying off all these years and years and years of debt. So sometimes you never know,
It's not really, the money's important, but it's really what makes you happy. Mm-hmm. And so, iron worker, you're outside all the time.
Yes.
And maybe you like being outside. So maybe that's your gig. If you're a doctor, you're not outside. You're inside in this very meticulous environment. So it's
fluorescent lights.
Well, yeah, it's a very different kind of gig. Mm-hmm. I have one of my good friends, she's 60 and she's a construction manager, but on 30-story apartment towers. It's a really big, responsible job, but she never went to college. She started as a carpenter, got into the carpenters union. She didn't even start as a carpenter. There's a level below. It was I don't know, handyman or something. This was carrying rocks and stuff around construction sites. But now, she's got a crew of 500 people and is responsible for this stuff, and fine. Worked out. She loves her job.
Exactly. And I'm sure even if she had to have eventually gotten to that point of having a whole crew under her, I mean, she probably still would have loved it anyways, because she's working with her hands, she's being creative. And I think too, sometimes with physical labor jobs, there's something to it that can be more fulfilling, in the sense that and this is just kind of my take on it from what I've experienced, because I used to work at a research farm and horticulture lab, and I was out in the field every day setting up irrigation, harvesting, collecting data, blah blah blah. My point is, there was just something satisfying about seeing an entire truckload of tomatoes we had just harvested.
Absolutely.
And all the data sheets filled out all the way through.
Yeah.
And strawberries. We'd have entire, truck beds of strawberries. And I think sometimes with a more of a desk job, which is a little bit more of what I do now. I mean, I'm out in the field as well. But anyways, sometimes there's that element that's kind of missing, because it's like my fulfillment or my goals that I completed for the day were sending emails out or having phone calls.
Right.
And it's not the same almost, as because I feel like there's something innate within us when we do these physical labor jobs that kind of clicks with our past as humans.
Well, I mean, Dad's an iron worker, so he's going to drive down the road and he's going to see a building and he can say, "Hey,
Yes.
I helped build that." That's
Yes.
great. That's super cool.
I know. I remember as a kid, he would always be like, all right, he doesn't have a country accent. I don't know why I'm giving him one right now, but he'd be like, I made that building. I was a glazer. I put all those windows up on that building there. We made this bridge. Or, to this day, even though he's not quite in the field these days, but we'll go out on a bridge and he'll say, see this welding here? Well, look at the slack that built up, or look at this, or this was stick welding. You can tell because of that. This was MIG. And it's just like, he loves it and he can see it and he knows it, whether he built it or someone else did. It's just kind of cool to know the mechanics behind that,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think I agree with you on that. I definitely, like I said, was raised to know college is good, but it's not the only route. And I think that's something people are kind of waking up to more. It's almost like for a while it was, oh, if you go to college, then that's the only way out, because screw physical labor or other routes. And now it's almost kind of going back to that mentality of, oh, wait, this maybe isn't as bad as we initially thought.
Well, I mean, college, do you really want to pay whatever it is, $50,000 a year to be on Zoom calls? Because that's what college is now. So,
right. Right.
I don't know about that.
I know. And my heart goes out to all the people who are missing a kind of classic graduation. Can you imagine going to college for 4 years, 6 years, and then your graduation is just virtual? I don't want to get off the topic, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. But I also want to kind of touch on, so I found out about you through the Calm app. I love that app. And they have the Spark segments where they bring different people on. And what was the title of your segment again? Do you remember?
No,
that's fine. Hey, that's fine. That's fine. But I clicked it for whatever reason. I clicked it, and the title had caught me. And if I remember correctly, did you mention that you used to be afraid of public speaking and you were not a fan of it? Yeah. Okay. And now you have a TED Talk. You have gone to multiple conventions and done multiple speeches.
Sure.
Do you mind telling me a bit about your fear of speaking and kind of what you did to get past that and be where you are now with all the speaking you do?
Well, yeah. So it's a process, right? So I did the TED thing that was, I don't know, about 3 years ago. I've done some scary things in my life. That was the single scariest thing I have ever done in my life. So there was 4,000 people in the audience, which you can only see like the first couple hundred. You only see that like the first few rows. But there's the 5 TV cameras, and that this is getting recorded and it'll be out there forever. And you just don't want to be that guy who like loses it out there, right?
Right.
So what I did was I practiced, maybe an hour to 2 hours a day for about 3 months. And what you don't see in the talk there is that about halfway through the talk, the clicker stopped working. And so
oh my gosh,
it stopped working. And I kind of looked at the tech guys and
oh my gosh,
they were like scurried around. They fixed it. But I knew the talk so well that, I mean, you could have hung me by my ankles and swung me over that audience and I could have done it. Like there was nothing that was going to keep me from doing that talk. But once I did that, I realized that I could do it. Now it's still, I wouldn't say it's scary. It's more exciting because now I've done a lot of them and now I do them at a fairly high level. And it's like really fun. Like I really like it now because now I'm able to talk, you kind of understand the relationship between the speaker and the audience, and you tell jokes and you can
Mm-hmm.
banter with them, and it's a really good time. But in the beginning, I knew that at some point I was going to have to do this. So I went to an organization called Toastmasters.
I've heard of them.
Yeah. And it's very effective. It's a little goofy, but
Hey, if it works, it works.
it works. Yeah. And they help me a lot. I mean, I could use a lot of help. I've never had media training. I should probably get some.
Mm.
But you just start. And I think that really, whatever it is that is challenging you, you just start. You just like, all right,
Yeah.
well, what can I do? Like what little, and I think that the trick to it is you want to succeed. So if I had just been like, tossed out onto the TEDx stage with having never done anything, it would have been horrible.
Oh
I would
gosh.
never
Yeah.
have spoken again in my life.
Right.
But you want to do small things that you can succeed at. And like we talk about, like you wanted to talk about meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with that. Like if somebody told you to sit and meditate for, be the Buddha, no.
Right.
Can't do that.
10 seconds in, you're already thinking about what you're gonna have for
Exactly.
lunch.
Right. So you just go for 10 seconds. And
Right.
it's okay, got that. That was a win.
Yes.
And for myself with the speaking, it was, doing Toastmasters in front of like 5 people or 10 people, and it was like really safe, and there were no repercussions to what would happen. And then you understand things better. And it's mostly, we have all this capacity inside us about, it's just like a lot of things. Like we're really human beings who have incredible capacity, but the big limiting function is that we think we can't do something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem. So, it's true. I'm probably not going to be an astronaut. That's true. Okay. But, most other things we can do, but we sort of have to bring ourselves along on the journey. So what happens is like when I with my speaking, it was just like super scary. And I got
Right.
like 5 people at the table, and I was like talking from them. It was like, oh my God. But it was like I bring, I call him my little buddy, and my little buddy is sort of like all my fears and all the like bad stuff I had in my childhood and all that.
Oh,
And I
dang.
just say
Yeah.
like, come on, little buddy, we're going to go do this thing. And little buddy's like, oh no, we're going to die. We can't do this. And then whatever it is, when it's over, I say, okay, little buddy, you're okay. Like you made it, right? They didn't kill you.
Right.
We're good. We can do this again.
Right. Like it's almost a way of objectively looking at or disassociating your fears from yourself in a sense. Like
Well, my fears are me.
they
Like,
are you, right?
they
Right.
are me.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's like, I don't believe that you can, if you have, I don't know. There are some people I think that can dissociate from their fear. But for me, like fear is really useful.
Right.
And even more than that, it's just like these experiences that I've had, they're what make me. So I can't get rid of them. I can't get rid of those feelings, but I can bring them along with me to wherever I'm going.
And you can work with them and use them as
Yeah.
tools to push you towards the things that you want to do.
Well, and I educate them. And
Yeah.
and the way I educate them is I demonstrate, and I say, we did this. It's okay. So let's try a little more next time and see what happens. Maybe we can do that.
Yeah, like exposure therapy in a sense, you
Yeah.
know? Literally, I'm so serious. Like it's literally like exposure therapy.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
How they'll have someone who has OCD that's based off of germs, start small, like touch your face, like you're okay, or like go
Yeah.
outside. Or like you said, correlate that to speaking, because speaking is a fear, and I think it's like one of the most common fears, actually. But because it's intimidating, there's tons of people who are listening to you, but like you said, start small, show your fear. When I do this, I'm still okay, everything's fine, and and then add on and add on and add on.
What's the worst that's going to happen? So
Right.
you get
Right.
up there and you forget your speech.
Mm-hmm.
What happens? What's
Right.
the worst thing that happens, right? So
Right.
people maybe they'll laugh at you. You'll be ridiculed. Yeah, so what? Get over it. Do it again.
Right, exactly. And you know what's funny? Like, none of these people know you. They don't know
Yeah.
you. They're not gonna, even if they talk about it every day for the rest of their lives about how stupid you looked, are you gonna know? No. You're never gonna see them ever again. And honestly, sometimes it's a blessing in disguise when you tank or you bomb, especially if it's the first or second time, because it's like, that's right, buddy. That's rock bottom. There's nowhere to go but up.
There you go. Yeah, that's
That's
right.
how I felt with waitressing. I waitressed at a Greek restaurant for a little while, and that was my first and only waitress job. But it was my first day. I think it was Mother's Day. They accidentally called me in, like, or they said, "Can anyone come in?" I was like, "Sure, I'll come in." That was my first shift ever. Never been in. They didn't even. I slipped. It was so busy. I slipped through the cracks. They didn't even really want me working because I was too new to handle that kind of a crowd. I had tables spread out across the restaurant instead of in one section where it's easy. I forgot to bring out side salads. People were yelling at me. A couple stormed out. It was like I'm covered in sweat. There's belly dancers. There's flames thrown everywhere. Napkins falling from the sky. I'm like, this is my first day ever waitressing. I haven't finished my training yet. People are being rude to me. I'm stressed, making no money. And I was like, you know what? That was a good first day. There's nowhere to go but up. I literally got every bad scenario out of the way from the
Right.
jump.
Yeah.
Nowhere to go but up after this. But it's good because it just threw me in it. And I had experience. And like you said, at the end of the day, I take off my feta covered nasty apron and I go home. And it's cool. Everything's cool.
Yeah.
You know? Nothing happened. But yeah, so let me see here. Oh yeah, so let's kind of get into meditation. And also I was curious, if you do have a routine, what does your mental health routine look like, or what are some of the things that you like to do in order to just kind of keep up with it? Because I feel like a mental health routine is just as important, if not as important, as a physical health routine, you know?
Oh, they're related.
Yes.
So we are. I was just reading from the WHO, the World Health Organization, that the mental health crisis is such that in 10 years they feel the medical consequences from mental health will outweigh those from heart disease and cancer. That
Wow.
it's a huge thing, and right now we're in an incredibly stressful time. That with COVID, it's people still there's still a fear of the disease, but there are all these other fears that are like they've got another 5 or 6 fears stacked on top of them that COVID has allowed to come in. So it's sort of been a catalyst. It's been an accelerator for all this other stuff. And I think that right now it's incredibly important to have some kind of a way to deal with the stress and to keep yourself like a reset. So I did a podcast yesterday on our Super Age channel with Carrie Otis. And Carrie has a very colorful background, married to Mickey Rourke. He shot her. She became a heroin addict, just like, teenage runaway, raped at 17, just like
Oh,
on and on and on.
jeez.
And then she started meditating, and now she's like she's like a mom in Colorado. She's got a couple of kids. And we talked about her, like how she does reset. And that for me is, I think that's so important. And, what I do is, it took me like decades to learn how to meditate. I'm very slow learner.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I did was I first started about my success came about 8 or 9 years ago, and there was an app called Headspace, and I did that guy, whatever his name is, Andy. So I listened to Andy for like a year, and that helped me. It got me to like sort of settle down a little bit. And now I use an app called an Insight Timer, and it's just basically a gong. So it's or whatever you kind of sound you want. So it's like there's like a starting sound, and then I set it for 15 minutes. And because my mind wanders, I need something to sort of, sometimes I get lost. I need something to bring me back. So I add a lot of gongs. So like
More
every
gongs.
like couple of minutes, more gong. Yeah, it's another gong.
Yeah.
And I studied, one of my failures was I went to the Zen mountain monastery. And like the Zen people, they're really, really intense. And so they don't use gongs, they have a stick and they just whack you with the thing. So it's like, get present, whack.
Focus on the pain.
Well, they're just like, you're daydreaming, whack, stop that.
Dang, that's crazy. They're so good that they can see you daydreaming. Or like, how they can see the
Well,
subtle movements in you of, oh crap, they don't look.
yeah, I mean, those meditation sessions were, a couple hours. So people like nod out. And then they would whack them and wake them up. There's Zen is not for the faint of heart, I can tell you.
Zen is not as zen as you would think.
No, they are very serious, very badass people there. So that's what I do. I do that every morning. So my routine is I get up, I go down, I have 2 big glasses of water, I put some lemon in the water, and then I go over and I hurt my knee earlier in the year, so I don't sit on my cushion anymore. I just sit in a chair and I do my meditation for 15 minutes. And I don't look at my phone. I don't look at social media. I don't look at the news. I don't do any of that. I just do that. And then after my meditation, I'll look at my email. I'll see like, is there anything urgent in there? I clean out all the crap. And then I go for like a 20-minute walk. And I'm in Park City, Utah right now on the side of a mountain. So I just go out and I walk and I have a look at the duck pond. I inventory the ducks and I look at the aspens are changing yellow and I look at that. And then I come back and now I can kind of do my thing.
Right.
That works for me.
Yeah. I think that's a really good morning routine, honestly. And one thing I really like is how you also mentioned you stay off your phone. I think that's super important because it can kind of accidentally turn into this vortex of, oh, look, so-and-so texted me. Now you're texting them back. And now, this popped up. And then, let me Google this. And then you see the articles under Google and you click that. And just
you've got to control the phone. You got to control the whole, that whole thing. So that's something that I have a rule. I do not use a digital appliance of any kind after 8:00 at night. And I try like after 7. It's just like off. I'm done.
That's great.
There's nothing new that there's no benefit I'm going to gain from this.
Right.
So, and I think in the morning our brains are really susceptible to information in the morning. So if the first thing you plug into is the news or something, that's going to be like on the radar screen of your brain for the next 24 hours. So be careful. Like, don't do that.
Right.
It's okay. You can do something else.
Right. Because people are, and myself included, many times in the past and probably, times to come in the future, you're inadvertently kind of setting yourself up mentally in a negative way, because you're not consciously thinking, let me read these things and make myself feel bad all day, or why am I grumpy?
Why do that?
Right. You don't realize it. You're doing it though a lot of times. And something I've kind of started this week and last week, no, just this week, is like you said, I try as well not to look at my phone until after my morning routine is complete. Right. And then I'll check it and then I'll set a timer for 3 hours. And then when that goes off, I'll check it.
That's great. Yeah, that works.
And I'm literally loving it because I think COVID kind of brought about more of a squirrel brain for me inadvertently. Like I don't really use social media. I don't post for the most part. If I do, it's work related and it's for my job on Facebook and stuff. But anyways, you don't have to have social media to be stuck on your phone. I mean, I have, friends on WhatsApp messaging me. I have, my mom calling me. I have, let me Google this unimportant thing real quick and then get sidetracked by these other interesting looking articles. And it's just like, you don't realize it, but you're kind of like setting yourself up like you get itchy if your phone's like not there, or you're not like holding it to look something up. And it's like this extended brain of yourself, like this extension of yourself, which can be a good thing. But
well, I think that's meditation helps that a lot. So what meditation essentially does is you're sitting there and you're observing the thoughts come across and dismissing them. Right. And observing the urges and the feelings and just saying like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. I don't have to do anything about that, but that's kind of interesting.
Yes.
And it's, a lot of it's like impulse control. So that urge to pick up the phone or Google something on the laptop or something, what that's really about is uncomfortability with the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a distraction to help with that. And sometimes that's fine. It's totally fine. But to just acknowledge, like, that's what's going on. I'm uncomfortable, so I want to look at Instagram. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree. And like you said, I 100% agree that meditation can help. And then little things like you mentioned, not looking at your phone in the morning, or how I'm doing this week, setting a timer, and I feel so much better too. I'm like, it's like ice cream, Ice cream is good. I love ice cream, but it's not good anymore when I eat it too much. And I eat it, say I had ice cream every day, with every meal. It's just not the same anymore. It just feels tired. It feels gross. I feel like I'm too dependent on it. But when I can spread it out and have ice cream at appropriate times, it's a nice thing. It's a treat.
Yeah.
It's good. It's healthy. That's how I kind of view my phone per se, or contacting my friends. And also because, like I said, COVID and the lockdown got me on my phone more. Plus, I live alone in Tennessee. I don't have any roommates. I don't have any family in the state. So it was partly just like, feeling alone and wanting
Right.
that kind of a connection,
Yeah.
which I feel like a lot of people are dealing with right now,
Sure.
which is a great time to exercise. Hey, let me just set a timer for 5 minutes. And as you said, and I don't know if you know Douglas Block, but he's a therapist on YouTube. I love, love, love his videos. If anyone is listening, you should definitely check him out. But he mentions in one of his videos, just as you said, setting a timer for 5 minutes, just sitting there and observing your thoughts objectively. Like, oh, hey, that's a thought. All right. And like a leaf floating down a river, just see it, acknowledge it, and urges and feelings, just like you said, more than just thoughts, but urges and sensations. So I definitely think there's a lot of good that can come out of that.
Absolutely.
I just think meditation's so great. I just love it so much.
It's I'm trying to think of somebody I know who's like really successful in the world who doesn't meditate, and I don't, or does something similar to sort of
Right.
settle it.
Right.
I mean, some people have, Carrie that I spoke to yesterday has what she calls a practice, and it's a very strict ritual that she does. And other people, they it's different for them. But I think that finding a way to be able to observe what's happening with yourself, however you want to do that, um, I think is that. And you mentioned the body, like exercise, like there you I'm a big fan of that. And again, like, I don't know too many people who are high performing people who don't do both of those things. It's just
Mhm.
like best practices, like, do this, you're going to feel better, you're going to be happier, and you're going to live longer. So
Your
choice is
body will
yours.
thank you. Your mind will thank you. Yeah, exactly. The choice is yours. And I agree. Like you said earlier, they are 100% connected.
Yeah.
And it's like a positive cycle that can feed into each other. Just like if things start to go the other way, it can be a negative cycle that feeds into itself. Also, back to the morning routines, I saw a post the other morning, and I really, not the other morning, but the other day, and it kind of struck out to me, or stuck out to me. It said something like, just remember, the mental health routine that helped you through a certain season may change its form, and what was good for you then to keep you grounded may not be the same as what you need now to keep you grounded. And I thought that was kind of interesting because I kind of really got into my mental health journey and feeding into that uh, relatively recently in my life, within the past 6 to 7 months. And for a while there, every morning I would wake up, I would plug in my Wi-Fi, unplug it at night because my modem is like right by my pillows. I'm like, I don't want that. So I unplug it at night. So I plugged in my Wi-Fi, I put a pot of tea on the oven, made my bed, got my yoga mat out. I did my morning yoga, meditated, uh, I'd read the Bible, pray, blah, blah, blah. And then after a while, I started to get kind of bored, like, oh, I have to do this again. I got to wake up and, go to this routine. And then I realized, especially after seeing that post, things, you can shake it up. You don't have to do things in a certain order every morning for 2, 3, 4 months. So like this morning I got up, I did a lot of the same things I normally do, but I just let myself read a beneficial book that helps, that's like a self-help type book. I just let myself read for an hour and a half, and I finished my book. I felt accomplished. It was a book that builds me up, and I still, prayed and did my breathing and stuff. But I think it's good to know that it's okay to switch around the things that you do in your mental health routine as well.
Yeah, I think prayer is great. I think reading is great.
Mm-hmm.
I think TV is not so great. So I mean, I maybe watch an hour of TV a month.
Wow.
I like see all these things. TV is designed to sort of hijack your consciousness, as is like social media uses behavioral science to hijack you. That's its point.
Right.
And so much, like I have a media company. I know about this stuff. So that's how it's designed. So you can, my reading is I read two kinds of books. So I read books that I'm going to learn things from, like informational books. And then I read fiction books, and I read them in a specific order. So before I go to bed, I read the nonfiction book first, and then I read the fiction book later. Lately, I've been into science fiction stuff because it expands my imagination. I really
Yeah.
And a television. Every time I watch a television show, I just feel icky. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
what happened to my brain? Like, why did I do that? It's like, it's like you eat the quart of ice cream. Like, why did I do that?
It's so good in the moment.
It's so
And then it's
good.
over and you're like,
I don't
what?
want to get off the sofa. Yeah, more. Let's watch the next one. Let's binge. And then it's like the
Yes.
next, you're like, oh my God, what did I do?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's nice to do here and there. But yeah, my thing is more so movies, and I have a projector and I have Christmas lights in my room, and I'll set up all cute.
Yeah.
But so if I'm gonna do it, I try and like do it up, and
Yeah,
then
movies
like,
are great.
yeah, exactly. And then beyond that, and one of the reasons I like movies is because it's not like a TV show where there's 6 seasons. Now you're
Right.
hooked. It's
It's
more
designed to
so
be
like,
addictive.
right,
Movies are not. You just
exactly.
do it and it's done. You don't want to watch it again.
No, yeah,
Not
one
like
and
that, right?
yeah, one and done.
Yeah.
And I find that, like you said, the more I'm mindful about things and try to work on my personal goals and the things that I want, because I have my full-time job, but then beyond that, I do this podcast, and I'm designing some clothes and things like that. So my point is, the more I work on those things, the more I don't even think to turn on Hulu or Netflix. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel like the more you invest in other things, the more it won't even be like a draw, but more so, oh crap, yeah, maybe I should end my Disney Plus.
Well, and I mean, I just want to be clear here. Like, this is just me. This week on AGEIST, the guy we did on the cover, Harlan Bratcher, and Harlan's about 64. Harlan loves Schitt's Creek. He just loves like kind of bad TV.
Yeah.
And I said, he's like, well, I don't really read books too much, but Harlan used to run Armani, and he ran creative for Calvin Klein, and now he runs digital for the third largest internet company in the world, which is JD.com, a huge Chinese company.
Yeah.
And so he's just like, yeah, it just checks my brain out. I like it.
Yeah.
So,
and
it's whatever works for you.
Exactly. And again, like sometimes that autopilot is fun. Like I said, I'll sit there with the projector on and cuddle up with my dog and my cat and maybe have some kombucha and just like enjoy myself covered in fluffy blankets and pillows and just sit there and watch a movie. It can be nice sometimes, just as long as you can kind of watch yourself and not let it turn into too much of a good thing. Again,
right.
Balance, because I don't ever want to sound like that person who's like, oh, I don't watch TV. You know what I mean? Like, or, oh, I don't eat sugar. Because, like you said, we're all human and we all need some vices of some form to some degree. Also, have you ever read Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a great book.
Did you like it?
I did.
You did? I just got it recently. Okay, I have Can you see that in the, here, I'll show you. That's my little stack of books. I have
Oh
way
yeah.
too many books I'm reading at once. I just finished one today, like I said, but I'm about a quarter way through 5 books right now. But Eckhart Tolle, I just started yesterday at the laundromat while I was doing my laundry, and I'm only literally maybe 5 pages in, but I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll find that there's a commonality to, you know, through human history, all the religions, all the spiritual teachers. It's, there's a thread, and one of them is like, be present. But it's like hard, like,
Yeah.
and it's you in some, sometimes it's like, be quiet so you can listen to God, because
Mhm.
if your head's going nuts, you can't hear anything,
Yeah.
right? Like, you need to, like, calm down. And it's, that sort of, the, like, be in the now. That's what that means. Like, I'm not thinking about what happened in the past. I'm not daydreaming about the future. I'm not thinking about something else. I'm just, like, here. And
Yes.
that idea of being present as a human being is, uh, it's increasingly difficult as we get sort of increasingly divorced from who we are as human beings, and divorced from nature, and a lot of these other things come in, and that's why I think it's like taking, having a meditation routine or ritual or whatever. Like, you just get up in the morning, like, walk in the woods or something to like, help with that, becomes more and more important, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And two, I feel like it's crazy because a lot of people, and still even myself, we don't always realize how in your face advertisements and distractions are to us. I mean, I was just driving back home from Chattanooga. I dropped a friend off at the airport, and I'm driving back, and it's beautiful, mountains and trees, and I look, and boom, McDonald's billboard right there, buy
Yeah.
our food. And then just there's a little unconscious or subconscious, drop in my head, like eat some French fries, or I go onto YouTube to play some music. I've been really into a lot of lo-fi and cello music lately, and as I'm going, boom, there's an ad. I'm scrolling to find another song, boom, there's a clickbait, and it's just everywhere. And I think we're born into it, and it's our day to day. So sometimes it's kind of hard to realize how much we're being influenced unconsciously, if that makes sense.
Well, I think, I mean, my approach to it is, it's the same way that I think of, my thoughts and emotions and urges that I get when I'm sitting and meditating. It's like, I can drive down the highway and I can say, oh, that's a McDonald's sign.
Mm.
Okay. And that doesn't lead to, I must get off immediately and, like, buy
Right.
McDonald's. I can just say, like, oh yeah, it's a McDonald's sign. Okay, whatever.
Right. That's a really good analogy, honestly. Like, or metaphor. Yeah. Anyways, that's really good to say. You're driving, and you just see it, and then you pass by it, and it's gone. And that's the trick, because sometimes with thoughts, you focus and you hyperfixate on a thought, and
Yeah.
like, why is this in my head? Why am I feeling this way? And then inadvertently, you thinking of the thought and trying to solve the puzzle as to why it's there is feeding the thought and creating more of those thoughts to come, as opposed to, like you said, just seeing it, acknowledging it, hey, what's up, and then letting it go. And just kind of acceptance too, I think, is
Yeah.
important. Like, it's there, all right, boom. And it's crazy, the second you can just start accepting things and feeling things and not diverting those kinds of sensations, they last way for like much shorter periods of time, and they become weaker and weaker as well. Have you heard of habituation?
Yes. Absolutely.
I am a big fan of habituation.
Yeah.
I recently found out about it maybe a month ago, and it's helped me a lot with my anxiety. Like, I used to, not even realizing it, clench up and like fight it and like tighten my stomach and be like, nope, nope, I can't feel this. But I was like, screw it, bring it on. Like, just like, I want to feel it. Like, let me feel it. Like, I'm going to sit here and hold hands with this instead of trying to push it off. And then it's crazy because, at least for me, it's helped tremendously. But are there any closing things you'd like to say?
Well, I think all these things that we're talking about don't like meditation, exercise, awareness. They require an action on the person's part. It doesn't. You don't walk outside and get hit by lightning. I mean, maybe some people get hit by lightning, but generally, you have to say, "I'm worth it." Like, I have enough self-value that I'm going to do this thing for myself and take that action. And it's, if you want to have a good life, you can't. You need to be an active participant in your life, and not you can sit in the lazy boy and eat donuts and watch TV if you want. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. But if you want to do these other things, like, it requires taking actions and then turning these actions into habits, which turn into behavior patterns. But it starts with you.
Exactly. And then with the compound effect, small changes slowly add up more and more and more. Even if it's something as tiny as I am beyond stressed, I'm beyond depressed, all I can do right now is just go outside for a walk. Do it. Every day, maybe you'll start going out more and more, getting more sunshine. Now I'm going to go for a jog, and then things just slowly add up. And I know you have to go, crap, but I had a boat analogy, but I can use that next time.
So I'm going to give your listeners a secret here.
Okay.
So if you're having a bad day, you're depressed, you're angry, whatever, it's not going well for you. The surefire way to make that go away and have a better day is just reach out and help somebody. Just like open the car door for somebody, tell somebody, you get in an elevator and you say, like, wow, I really like your shoes, man. Those are cool. Make somebody feel good for just a little bit. And suddenly you're not thinking about you. You're thinking about them.
Yes.
And then everything gets a lot better.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point. Inadvertently, it can, a lot of mental health problems put the focus on you, or just like insecurity, that really opened up my eyes. Insecurity puts all the focus on yourself. Yeah. But where can people contact you if they want to get a hold?
Absolutely. So if you go, it's called AGEIST. It's like sexist, racist. It's really hard to forget, AGEIST. So go to ageist.com. Check us out there. We have a really awesome podcast called Super Age. And we're on iTunes. We're on like all the major services, and so we have some pretty amazing people. I'm speaking right after we get off this call. I have to speak to a woman who's a geneticist, genomist, and talking about the future of epigenetic health, whatever that is.
Well, I guess if people want to know what that is, they'll have to.
You want to know what that is? We'll talk, or next week we're releasing Carrie Otis, the big like supermodel and actress. From a few years ago, and she's, as I said, she's pretty awesome. So yeah, check it out.
Dang, well, it sounds like your podcast is definitely worth giving a listen to. And again, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come and talk with me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, you as well. Me as well. Have a great day.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye. And that, my friends, was episode number 2, again titled College Fear and Mental Health Routines. Oh my. Do you feel a little bit more self-assured with the route that you've taken? Are you feeling more inspired to take a different route? I don't know. I'm not a psychic, but feel free to comment how you're feeling if you're listening via the YouTube, or feel free to give me an email. The email is below, mindfulnesswithchrist@gmail.com. And yeah, so follow if you haven't. I would love to keep up with you, and you keep up with me. So I'm kind of starting to rant. I'm going to end this now. Why can't I stop talking? Goodbye.